Hey everybody, and welcome. It's going to be a long video today. I figured what I would do is I would take you step by step through my weekly maintenance. So what you're about to see is what I do every single week. It takes me about 2 to 3 hours depending on what I do. Obviously you want to start with washing your hands. I'm going to speed this up here so you don't have to sit and stare, but I do use soap at the beginning, but after that then I rinse with hot water because you don't really want any of that soap to go into your tank. So I just make sure I clean my ring, I clean all over and just get it really kind of as good as I could. There's quite a bit of setup that I have to do that you're going to see here in a second. So just make sure you're all clean, you're ready to go. So this is my kitchen area. I make sure I move all of the kitchen items out of the way. Because you don't want the tank water and the bacteria to mix with your other stuff. So I set up a towel I only use for cleanings, rinse out everything, clean as much as I can, and then I'm pretty much ready to go. So what you're going to see here is you're going to see where I keep all of my stuff in the bottom. I'm going to just pull out all the gear I need. And the top is where I keep a lot of stuff as well. So I'll just get out all my towels that I have, and my towels are... I only use them for the tank, so that they're always clean. And then down below, I'm just going to pull out all the stuff that I'm going to need, the various cleaners, the various utensils. I'm also going to turn down my Vortec. I'm going to turn it all the way down because I'm going to be doing a lot of work in there, and the sand is going to get piled up, and it's just going to blow everywhere. I'm also going to log on to my Apex Fusion, and I'm going to turn off all sorts of things. I'm going to turn off my GFO, I'm going to turn off my osmolator, I'm going to turn off my carbon, and I'm going to turn off, wait for it, I'm going to turn off my protein skimmer as well. Mainly because water levels are going to change up and down as I'm doing this, and I just want it to have a kind of a constant water level. So I'm good to go. So I get everything set up, everything out that I know I'm going to need. And then we begin. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set everything up. I'm going to move everything out of the way. I'm going to get my light on underneath, set up my towels, and everything I'm going to need. I'm doing it right now. My family's out. Cleaning's one of those weird things because, oh, see that towel right there? Sorry. I am always trying to wipe my hands on stuff, and if I don't attach that towel to my body, then I'm going to literally have soaking wet hands of salt water, and I'm not going to have a towel near me, so I always make sure I do that now. But anyway, cleaning's one of those things that I don't love doing, but I don't hate doing, but I do love the outcome. So I do spend a lot of time every week, and I probably do a lot more cleaning than a lot of you guys might do. And I'm sure I'm going to get people saying you're doing too much, you're upsetting the ecosystem, but my experience has been positive. It stays looking nice, and I do it in such a way I think that that everything's really just fine. All right, so there's the top of my protein skimmer. So I'm obviously going to undo from underneath. I'm going to undo it all. It's kind of icky, obviously. I do this once a week. Just kind of wipe everything off, just using some fresh water. And you can see in the little insert there, the water's off. I'm just going to unscrew it and bring it on over there. Nothing really too fancy there. Just make sure it's super clean. I used to not be as good about this. I didn't clean my area as well, so I would be scraping it like I'm doing right now, and I would literally fling all of that nasty stuff all over the place. So I'm a lot more careful now to not have anything nearby because that stuff's pretty disgusting. So you'll see down there as well, that big towel I put out is basically where I put all of my stuff. So I just make sure that it's there, it's ready to dry. I didn't have this as well set up in the past, and it was a pain in the butt. All right, now I start the siphon. I don't do a water change every week. I actually probably only do a water change once every 2 months or so. So I'm just straightening out my gravel filter, and I'm going to start the siphon here. And then what I do is I just siphon it directly into my filter sock before I change it out. So that's me putting it down into the bottom, just putting it into my filter sock. And now I'm going to commence with the cleaning of algae. I have some bubble algae in there. If you see on the bottom there, I'm pulling the bubble algae out, and then I'm just putting it directly into the siphon so that it siphons down. And then I just start siphoning all the sand. With my left hand, I pinch the cord. I pinch the, yeah, I pinch it so that I can control how fast things are going. Because if you'll notice with sugar-fine sand, as you'll see here, if I don't do that, it'll just all get sucked up. And I do get a lot of it sucked up. But what I do first is I go around and pinching it, I basically disturb all of the sand. And what happens then is it brings out a lot of the non-sand particles to the top. Then, after I do that, I can go back around everything without pinching the siphon and just sucking up everything on the top. You can see I'm making a mess. I'm not trying to make a mess, but I am. And so that's why I have the vortex turned all the way down so that it just doesn't blow everywhere. So yeah, you're going to see just on both sides here, just going through, disturbing it all, and then going back over the top and making sure that I pull up kind of everything that I need to. It makes everything look really nice and clean. You see the little blue damsel there on the left? That guy, his name's Lancelot, and he attacks the heck out of me. So I scare him off, and luckily he's not smart enough to know that my hand is different than the siphon, than the gravel filter, so he pretty much doesn't attack my hand, because it always scares the crap out of me when he does. But yeah, I just make sure you go all the way around. I'm sure some of you do this. It really helps get up any decaying matter, stops your ammonia, your nitrates, also picks up a lot of the phosphates that are in there. Because you know what, when you feed the tank, there's always going to be lots of extra food and stuff like that. So yeah, just go all the way around. You can kind of see everything I'm doing here. I am going to be adding some more sand in the future. I wouldn't get sugar fined again. The next sand I'm getting is actually going to be a little bit more coarse, so it doesn't kind of pull up quite as much as this, because I do lose a lot every single time, and it's just kind of expensive. Okay, now that that's done, I go back, turn the vortex all the way up, because I've just disturbed the heck out of everything, and this will help kick everything up, push it over into the weir and down into my filter sock. You know, this is kind of an annoying weekly thing that I do on my little rock here that has the green star polyps. I have some macroalgae growing underneath it, and it's really annoying, and I try to get rid of it. So every single week you'll see me, I'm picking it up, and then I'm going in by hand, and I'm just picking it out. What happens generally, if you see there, most of the green star polyps pull in, so that I can just kind of reach down and pull out the larger pieces of macroalgae and just pull them off, and it makes it look a lot nicer. And it also, I don't know if it's going to help it at all spread, but I'm kind of hoping it does. Yeah, you can see there on the upper left, Lancelot chasing, and literally I'm just chasing him out of the way because he's such a pain. I'm also going to go through, I have different hair algae stuff. I'm going to go ahead and pull that off. Pull off any of the big algae that I see, because it really makes my tank look so much nicer. All right, then the scrubbing begins. I use a Kent Marine scrubber, and I'm scrubbing the back, not the glass, but the black acrylic on the back, and some of the corners you're going to see as well. But I do this weekly, and I really don't want the black background to be covered with... I'm forgetting the word, calcifying algae. What's the word I'm looking for? You guys know, the purple encrusting algae. I'm blanking, but I clean it all off so it looks nice and smooth. All right, then it's time to change my carbon filter. Carbon, you got to change weekly, honestly. So I just put in a small amount of the carbon every single week. Because after about a week, it doesn't really absorb anymore. You can see the water getting a little bit murky. It starts smelling a little more. So rather than put in a ton, just put in a little bit. I put in like no more than a half a cup, I think it is, every single week. And then you'll see on the right-hand side, I am going to rinse it. And what I rinse it with is RODI water. I use the BRS, the high capacity activated carbon. So there really is almost no residue, but I do still make sure that I rinse it using RODI water. You can see right there the BRS Premium ROX 0.8 carbon that I use. And honestly, the next morning is my favorite time after doing this change because the tank just looks so clear and it smells super clean. And I don't use tap water because tap water is going to have phosphates in there. So when I'm rinsing that carbon off, if I'm putting tap water in, it's just going to start absorbing some of that phosphate, and it's just not going to be as effective. So I do only use my filtered water for that. Then basically I just go back in and I connect it. You got to be careful because your filter, however you're doing it, it can leak. Mine does leak sometimes. So I make sure I tighten it as much as I humanly can, and then I push in both the input and the output just to make sure. And then I'll also spot check it because there can be a slow drip that can cause a lot of problems. But yeah, that's what I do every single week, and it really keeps my water super clear and smelling pretty nice, actually. All right, now we're moving on. So now I use the turkey baster. I do this weekly. I turkey baste both in the sump and in the weir because there's always going to be particles that are collecting that are a little bit too heavy, that don't make it into the filter sock. And so what this does is it just kicks them up enough so that it can be pulled into the tank, pulled into the filter sock, and then I can manually remove them. You probably don't need to do this all the time, but it's always good to keep any detritus, anything that is just sitting there. It's good to keep it moving. It's good to keep it going because you don't want it to just sit there and decompose. You do want to pull it out as much as you humanly can. Get it into the filter sock, get it into your protein skimmer so that it stays clean and smelling well. Then there's also a little bit of dusting. You'll see my radions here that I do dust every single week. Just put it on top. Nothing really fancy. The cool thing about the RMS mount that I have is it does tilt, which I think you'll see here. It moves so I can clean it off really nicely. Just the attention to detail I think is really important. Helps keep the tank look really nice. All right, now the filter sock time. Every single week I wash my filter sock. So I turn it inside out. First of all, I pull it out. I squeeze it. I bring it over to the washer. I wash it on hot with nothing else in there. Make sure you don't put your clothes in there. And then I put bleach in. And it's okay to put in bleach because I'm washing it hot. And then when I pull it out, I'm going to dry it. And when bleach completely dries, it's not dangerous anymore. So I wash bleach every single week. Then I go ahead and use my fancy flipper, and I clean everything. It's kind of a long process. I also, if you'll see down the bottom left, all the salt creep, I make sure I just brush off the salt creep, clean everything down the sump. And then I use my flipper. You got to be really careful around the sand bed. I do have some scratches, but when you get down to the sand bed, you'll see I flip it over to the stainless steel side, and I just go up and down right along the bottom there that you're seeing, and that helps get that really nice, clean line right down the bottom. And then I flip it back and forth quite a bit because it does build up with algae, and it builds up with sand, and you don't want that sand to be pulled around because it will scratch for sure. Okay, you'll see the bottom left. Everything's been replaced. I didn't replace my GFO. It's high capacity. It can last 5 to 6 weeks, but then I go back into my Apex. I turn everything back on, the osmolator. You'll see the water filling up in the carbon filter. I'm just adjusting my GFO filter in the back there, making sure that's working just fine, that it's tumbling well. That goes pretty well here. All right, so everything's getting pretty well cleaned. The glass, is one of the last things that I do. You can see a lot of flipping there. I do tons of flipping, because, when I'm cleaning all over, if I do the glass first, it's just going to get messy again. So I save it for pretty much near the end. All right, so everything's clean. The glass is good, so just doing my final picking up, rinsing off everything. You don't want to leave salt on anything. It's very corrosive, so make sure you rinse off all of your supplies. Then, of course, I'm going to go ahead and wipe the outside of my tank. I'm kind of anal about it, so you get the very rim of it, and then I go ahead and I get like a really fine chamois. And you'll see me kind of bending down here in a second, kind of just staring at it from different angles and wiping all the salt off to kind of make it look super nice. I mean, to be honest, I have to clean the algae off my tank once every other day, but that's just a really quick one where I'll just take the flipper. I won't even get down by the sand bed. I'll just do a really quick kind of run through. But for the most part, that's kind of, that's what I have to do kind of every couple days. But yeah, you'll see me, on the right-hand side, just rinsing everything off, cleaning it, just get it done right away. And I have my computer there, you can see on the left-hand side. That's where I have my, my Apex connected to. If anything goes wrong, it's really easy for me to turn off. What this nice thing about having a controller with everything connected to it is that you can just, if anything goes wrong or whatever, you can just wirelessly turn on and off all of your outlets. So I have everything labeled, and I just turn it on and off as I need to, which is really, really handy. The Vortec, I probably pull the Vortec off the wet side once every 3 weeks because it gets a lot of algae stuff on it, and I'll clean it off. I'll soak it in vinegar, so on and so forth. All right, now you're going to see on the left-hand side, I got to fill off my RODI unit. My RODI unit's on the right. I don't have to do this every week, maybe every 3 weeks, but on the left-hand side, you'll see my trash can, which is full of my RODI water. I'm putting it into my auto top-off. It's the little basin on the left. It holds like 10 gallons, maybe 10 gallons. It'll last me about a week, 8 days. A lot of evaporation occurs. But on the right-hand side, you can see I just permanently have my RODI filter underneath my sink in my bathroom. I just go ahead and attach that right up whenever my trash can gets low, and I just put it on a timer. It fills up pretty quick because in my RODI unit I added an additional reverse osmosis membrane so that I can fill up that whole thing in about 4 hours, which is pretty nice. So I just let that go, set a timer on for 5 hours. About 5 hours, it's going to be pretty full. Test it when I'm done, and it's pretty good. And there you can see kind of the finished products. I'd be curious to know what you guys do every single week. If you guys do a lot more than I do, if you do less than I do love the outcome. You can see I think the tank looks beautiful. One thing I didn't show was I go through and I turkey baste the rocks, because honestly all that cleaning I do does get quite a bit of sand on the rocks and on my coral. So I'll just go back in with a turkey baster and lightly blast everything, my corals, the rocks, and it just makes everything look super clean and super nice. And then, pretty soon thereafter, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll feed all the fish as well, kind of as a reward for their job well done. But yeah, you can see how it looks after my weekly cleaning. It's kind of a lengthy process, but you know what? I think it's worth it. It's something my family loves. It's something that I love. But yeah, go ahead and like down below, subscribe. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you found this helpful. Peace, everybody.